Good day and welcome again to your latest and fresh edition of SportWrap. This is your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraitha. Today the show will focus on some boxing news as Nestor Sunshine lines up of part 2 of the Low Repeaters interview. All that and more, that is on the SportWrap show. WRF and CRF's General Secretary Theo Shiweda explained that the main objective of the federation is to promote the sport of canoeing and rowing within Namibia and to expose Namibian athletes to the international world of sport. Riders through the oldest desert in the world is one of every cyclist should have on their bucket list. Daniel Hahn, 17, who made his debut in a 4-person team at the 2021 edition of the event, said his first experience, although it was a podium finish, was not enough. He and his team, Strange, who is no stranger to the race, said that he will use his experience from the previous race to his advantage. Making his third appearance and riding for the physically active youth, Pay, 25-year-old Maureen Cleopas, said that the dash is one of the races that challenge cyclists mentally as well as physically. Kevin Liu, who will be riding for Team Simon, said they are going into this year's Desert Dash with full.
I'm here on Friday to partake in the PSD bet tournament. We are really grateful for the opportunity because in the northern part of the country we don't get such big competitions, and this was a big opportunity for us to take part. The games went very well. We thank God that there were no injuries, and today's game, it was quite tough and challenging, but we pulled through and we managed to at least secure second position. Just a big thank you to the PST community. We thank you for bringing the sports to the village, and may we continue. Thank you very much.
It is very important to have such tournaments organized in the community just to bring sports to the people, because we tend to neglect villages when it comes to the organization of events of this magnitude. PST actually did a very great job for bringing this type of event at a village. It is super beautiful. We are excited about it. On the netball side, so far we have players that came from, I can say, from the 14 regions. Of course, they are spread into different teams, but this is good in a way that it is giving an opportunity to our upcoming players from the villages just to learn what is going on, just to learn that netball is actually advancing at a certain stage, because this has brought players that are from the Premier League, which is a very important something that our learners learn, our small kids learn.
We will now visit the marketplace, and after that it is our special cricket segment with the repeat of an interview with legend Low Repeaters for part 2. Namibia failed to qualify to the Super 12 T20 World Cup, but Peters has had the delight to share some history of the team ahead of the competition. Globetrotting will also be after the cricket segment as Arya Ughar updates on the latest interviews. Stay tuned.
Across that river, Jordan. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
This is part 2 of our interview with the legendary Low Repeaters, a very informed administrator in Namibian sports. I've always been a follower And since I started my journalism career, I've always counted on Laurie to give me something. But yeah, part two is it's the 90s. Laurie, tell us more.
So in 1988, where we ended the first part of this interview, Southwest Cricket Union withdrew from the South African Cricket Board then, and we made application to the International Cricket Council. The International Cricket Council knew very little about us, so they sent a team here, the MCC, Marylebone Cricket Club, to look and investigate what was going on in the country, and also a team of very good players who'd represented England to play against the locals. Well, that was a very strong team. There were some names like Paul Parker, who was the captain. But they played 5 games, and the local team represented themselves very well. They weren't a walkover. The MCC went back, the team went back, and the management went back to England and said there's no reason why the Namibia, who changed from Southwest Cricket Union to Namibia Cricket Board, should not be accepted as a member of the International Cricket Council. In 1992, the news came through, the 12th of July, we'd been accepted. The Namibia Cricket Board had been accepted as a member of the International Cricket Council.
When this news came, Laurie, I just wanted to know, how was the reaction?
The reaction was one of relief, but one of challenge, because when independence came, many South Africans went back to South Africa. They were mainly because they were employed in administrative posts, and they were offered the option of staying or moving back to South Africa. So more than the majority, 95%, decided to go back to South Africa. We were left with 60 players who could play cricket. 60 players.
Just 60 in the whole entire
population. The whole. So that was basically 4 clubs. And the 4 clubs were United, Wanderers, Railways, and Walvis Bay. And we inherited a bankrupt organisation. We owed plenty of money. Southwest Cricket Union unfortunately left us with huge debts. So the challenges were enormous. The annual general elections were quite feisty and challenging, and a board was put into place of a few business people, including myself. I became chairman, and
that was in 1991.
And 1992 came the news that we'd been accepted as a member of the ICC. Well, we were fortunate to be able to negotiate sponsorship to sponsor the debt away. One of them was First National Bank, who sponsored us. They took over the debt for sponsorship naming rights. Well, it took us 2 years and we were out of debt, and in 1994 we were invited to the first ICC associate tournament in Kenya. We had some good players, local players, and we did very well. We won the plate event, and we started building a development program was put into place to get in amongst the schools. A guy by the name of Kirk West took 2 schools, Emma Wagenet and St. George's, and started with the under 11s and under 13s, 4 teams. And under Kirk it grew and grew. We went into previously disadvantaged areas, what they called then.
The grassroots now.
Grassroots, and level, just to introduce cricket to the indigenous people. You know, from what I've learned, from what I've learned, a development program takes 30 years
Yeah.
before it starts to bear fruit. So if you were a development player, your parents knew nothing about this sport that the white people play. And only after the development players had grown up and started having children, and they said, yes, play cricket, it's a great sport. So virtually 30 years later,
I can imagine.
we have the first players coming through into club cricket and into national cricket.
Yeah.
So it was a massive challenge, and the board worked very hard. There were some really emotional moments
yeah.
between the non-white board members, and even to get a non-white person onto the board. And it seemed as though we were painting by plastering, by putting people of color on this board. It was never the intention.
Yeah.
The intention was to develop the game
cricket,
throughout
all
the
level, country.
So it has been successful, and the new board that's been there since 2018 have done wonders for development. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of children that have been exposed to cricket, and I think it's taken root amongst all the people of the country. So let's go back slightly. We did 1994, we went to the ICC tournament. The next one was in Malaysia. And we thought we were well prepared. We had an English coach by the name of Neil Lenham to take the team to Malaysia. What a disaster that was. We really struggled there. We burnt our fingers. The whole process of selection, we weren't ready. Cricket had improved through the test playing countries, and we really got smacked hard there.
Record stumbled.
Really, it was a great disappointment to me. So we went to various ICC tournaments and the results were a bit improving. Till in 2003, we went to Canada. We had no international coach. The local coaches were Lenny Lowe. Francois Erasmus was the manager, and they worked hard amongst themselves. They just worked hard. All the players were amateurs, and it was a hard slog. And we went there, participated with 24 countries. The top 4 countries would go through to the World Cup in 2003 in South Africa. And we had to win 10 games in a row to qualify for the World Cup. And we did that.
Which was an incredible achievement.
It was a fantastic...
I mean, looking back at the way... And how emotional was that for you, Laurie?
Well, I was there. And I sat next to Mr. Ali Bacher, who was a big name in the international cricket world. And we were playing Scotland. We had to qualify to beat Scotland. And we were in a bit of trouble. And Ali said to me, you guys better do something now. You're going to lose this match. You're not going to qualify. So I said to him, watch this. So who do they bring on to bowl? Burton van Roy. I'm sure many people know who Burton was. And Burton van Roy took 6 wickets for 20 runs, and we won the match. And we qualified.
Was an incredible comeback.
And Burton was one of those players that had come through the development ranks and proved the talent that this country had. And we qualified for the World Cup in South Africa.
I'm gonna cross that river, Jordan. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with the T20 World Cup cricket that's currently taking place in Australia. And there's a big result for Ireland in the tournament, and that's news just coming in. It is Ireland that beat England by 5 runs. That was according to the Duckworth-Lewis system. Rain also interrupted that game, and what happened in that game was that Ireland batted first. They made 157 in their 20 allotted overs, and it was Balbirnie that scored 64 or 62 from 46 deliveries. Then England were 105 for the loss of 5 wickets. That was in the 15th over when the rain came down. That was in Melbourne. They didn't go back to play again, and according to the Duckworth-Lewis method, they were 5 runs short. So England that loses to Ireland, Ireland winning that game by 5 wickets. It's very significant in that group because it's a very strong group with also Australia, New Zealand, and Sri Lanka in Group 1. And earlier, or the day before, it was Australia that had an important win beating Sri Lanka, and they beat them by 7 wickets. That was after they lost the first game to New Zealand. Thursday's games will see South Africa play against Bangladesh and Zimbabwe against Pakistan, both teams urgently needing a victory after their game also rained out with no result. That was earlier in the week. Going on to some tennis news, 2 tournaments being played at the moment on the ATP Men's Tour. The first one is the Nedbank Tournament Open, that's also called the Vienna Open. And the results from that tournament is that Cameron Norrie, he beat the Pedro Corsini of Argentina in the first round for 6-3, 2-6, and 7-6. And then a big result for Dominic Thiem. He's coming back from a long injury for a long time, and he beat Tyler Paul of the USA in 3 sets, tough sets, 2 tiebreaks in the last 2 sets to go through for Dominic Thiem. And also it was Hubert Huberts, the number 5 seed from Poland. He beat Francis Tiafoe in 3 sets as well. Top seeds also still in the tournament is Andrei Rublev and Stefanos Tsitsipas. Also being played is the Swiss Indoor Tournament, and there the number 2 seed Casper Ruud is out of the tournament. Casper Ruud lost to Stan Wawrinka, a very experienced player of Switzerland, and they lost by 6-4 and 6-4. And also Andy Murray is through to the next round, and the number 1 seed in this tournament is Carlos Alcaraz, currently the world number 1 from Spain. Continuing international sports news also with another World Cup that's taking place. It's the Women's World Cup Rugby that's taking place in New Zealand. Big quarterfinal games coming up this coming weekend. And the news from the tournament is that Italy will play in the quarterfinals against France. That is in Wangaria on Saturday. But the news is that they had a big setback in that their lock is out of the tournament. The lock's name is Sarah Tunesi, and Sarah Tunesi has been suspended for 12 matches, and that is because of biting. And that is not good, that what happened there, and she was sanctioned after the Pool B game. That was the win for Italy of 21 points to 8 against Japan in Auckland. So it is Sarah Tunesi out of the tournament. If Italy beat France, they will play either the winners of New Zealand, the host and defending champions, or Wales. Another quarterfinal will be on Saturday between England and Australia, and they play the winners of Canada and USA in the semi-finals. Closing off today's international sports news with soccer news. Champions League, UEFA Champions League's results. Manchester City, they sealed top spot in their Champions League Group G, and that was after a 0-0 draw, and that was against Borussia Dortmund. And coach Pep Guardiola afterwards said he's not too happy with the result, especially as Riyad Mahrez, he missed a penalty, and he said that he's concerned about the penalties taken by Manchester City over the time since he was coach. Over the time since he joined the club in 2016, it was 80 penalties the team received, and they missed 25 of them. Other results of the Champions League is that Chelsea beat Salzburg by 2-1. That's in Group E to make it very close for them to advance. Also in Group E, it was AC Milan that beat Dynamo Zagreb by 4-0. So that's the international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And that is all we had for you today. Catch the show tomorrow again at the same time, same place. Goodbye.